Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, a little cloudy, overcast, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined this week and every single week by my incredible crew. My oldest prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who is also a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And Rob Markham, our fixed annuity and life insurance sales specialist. Good morning, gang.
Good morning.
Good morning. We hope our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
Third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to supplement their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be. Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Well, gang, good morning. It's great to be here on the show. Saturday, my favorite day of the week. 2 hours of fun, starting here at 9 o'clock on the Big 550 KTRS. And just as a reminder, all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners. They're over the age of 55, within 5 years of retirement, or already retired. As Aaron mentioned, our goal is to create a game plan for them so they can have a fun, successful, and hopefully financially worry-free retirement. And it's all fun to do. And we do want to, before we take your phone calls at 314-931-5877 or your text messages at 84126. We do want to remind everybody there are lots of ways for you to keep in touch with us during the week.
That's right. Log onto our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us button, and there you can request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. You can ask a question. I do check during the show, so if that's a little easier for you to text in email in a question as opposed to text it, we're happy to get that on the air. Or if it's after hours, we will answer it as quickly as we can. In addition to that, you can click on the lower left-hand side of the screen in the pop-up box that appears that says sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner, and we do keep the last 6 to 12 months archived for you. But as it is July 1st,
Woo-hoo!
Now some people may have already received, if they were eager this morning, the newsletter was delivered to their inboxes at 8:01 in the morning. So you may have already seen a quick preview if you are already subscribed to our newsletter, but if not, Rob, please.
We have a new July 2023 Coach's Corner. I can't believe half the year is gone, more than half. It's amazing. And we've got some great articles in there in the July newsletter, the first one being More Americans Embrace the Cashless Economy. A growing number of people are using credit and debit cards for everyday purchases, whether they be gas, groceries, knickknacks on the way to work, what have you. It's really astonishing how much people are starting to really embrace the cashless economy. I mean, I know I used to be a cash and carry man everywhere. And, you get addicted to those reward points. They start building, right, and, you can apply that towards your balance, and you just get used to, like, oh, I'm getting 2% cash back. And I don't think I'd ever want to see a day where we went totally cashless, but this is certainly an intriguing article to see how attitudes are changing towards cash and using debit and credit cards.
And this is different from a conversation or article about digital currency.
Right.
This is simply just talking about how we currently use our current currency.
And forms. I usually use a credit card. I never, use a debit card, just because if there is a dispute with a merchant or, something isn't as advertised, I think it's a little bit easier to go back and deal with the credit card rather than debit card because the money's already gone.
That's a really excellent point, which is that the debit card is your money that you are just doling out electronically versus, taking a withdrawal from your bank account and then paying in cash. Whereas with credit, you definitely have a bit more protection, especially from theft and fraud, because in most cases, and I'm sure probably more listeners than not, have had some sort of credit card dispute. And when you go through that process, usually the bank that you are using, the credit card company that you are using, will put that credit back onto your card, meaning, they'll deduct whatever, they'll remove that line item from your expenses, and they'll investigate. When they determine it wasn't you trying to commit fraud, everything goes on as normal. Whereas if that is taken from your debit card, most banks don't necessarily on the front end make you whole again. They have to go through their fraud process and then make you whole again.
Yeah, I mean, there's an anxiety cost to this when something's not right, and not having it right on a credit card is one level of anxiety. Scale that up if it's on debit card and your actual funds are gone. So I only use my debit card for actually getting money out of the ATM.
And then the last point I would make about this, which is, credit scores are increasingly important in our society, especially if you're looking for loans, for a home, for cars, business loans, things of that nature. Having access to credit helps improve your credit score. So utilizing credit cards but not abusing credit cards actually helps improve your score over time, because you have access to more credit.
Absolutely. And our next article is, have you given your money a mid-year checkup? Being we're halfway through the year, now is a great time to touch on some, very basic things to consider. Do you have an emergency fund? We talk about that a lot. The vault and the many uses of the vault. I think last week we did a great segment on, a multifunctional vault and outer vault and an inner vault, and how you can manage those aspects of your savings. So you're definitely going to want to see that. Are you putting more money into your retirement accounts or your health savings accounts? Have you recently checked your credit score? Are you checking to see what interest you're paying on those credit cards, or is someone offering a better, lower rate? Do you have a high yielding savings account right now? Right now, the rates are upwards of 4%. So right. These are all things that, being we're at the mid-year, it could be advantageous to look into.
The other thing you might consider is, and we're going to talk about this, I think, a little later today, is mid-year is a good time to take a look at your portfolio. We've had significant gains so far this year, not in all aspects of the market, but in certain aspects. And rebalance your portfolio gives you an opportunity to realize profits. And especially if you're in a situation where you're using some of the gains to fund income needs that you have or capital expenditure needs, doing a rebalance puts you in a position where those profits become real. And that's good.
The really important points in this second article is how much is left in your flexible spending account. So many employers have moved towards the health savings account, which is portable. That's your money. You put it in on an annual basis. It goes in pre-tax. It grows tax deferred, and if you use it for medical expenses, you do not pay taxes. Some employers also make a contribution to that health savings account for you. That is yours as well. But there is another way to decrease taxation on medical expenses that some employers continue to use, which is called a flexible spending account. This is not portable, so that's a use it or lose it situation. You can put money in on an annual basis, but you need to have it drained by the end of the year, or you don't get to carry it over into the next. So you don't want to have to wait until the very last minute and then buy 16 pairs of glasses. You want to dole that money out to be used for if you have upcoming dental expenses, if you have upcoming medical expenses, if you want to, use it to pay for some prescriptions. Because, in some cases, people put the money in that they anticipate using, but sometimes things don't go as planned, and maybe that surgery got delayed, or you found a better alternative and you're not using those funds. We want to find a way to use them because you certainly do not want to lose them.
And our last article is home energy tax credits. The federal government has a couple of personal tax credits available for the installation of energy efficient infrastructure in your home or residential property. And this goes through some of the savings that each of these credits will provide to you. It's a very, very informative article I found. And, with the push for green energy and renewables, I think this is something that people could be interested in.
I want to take advantage of, especially if you happen to be in the middle of a new build. I know that's always sometimes the easiest place to incorporate some of these new technologies into your home is before it's fully built. Very
rarely do you see anything new now that doesn't have at least solar on the roofs or a portion of it. So,
right.
It's always nice to get the power, harness the power of the sun. No, it just is.
Well, we call it the Coach's Corner, easy access. Just go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on that Coach's Corner newsletter icon on the bottom of the left side corner of our splash page. Also shows up on every other page. Makes it easy for you to sign up if you like. And again, Erin and her staff do keep the last 6 to 12 months of those archived for your viewing, printing, or downloading convenience. So we love that. And again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. So while we're waiting for your calls and your texts, and before we take our first break of the hour, which I think is a good thing to do eventually, wanted to talk a little bit about taxes in retirement.
This has just been such a theme for me personally this week. Not that I'm retiring quite yet.
Well, sure. And at the end of the day, when we're creating as we talk about, we create a written game plan for people. Every single aspect that we're considering involves taxes. Now, Erin and I are not CPAs. We don't prepare the returns, but I will tell you that we're the ones that create the game plans for these.
It's part of our responsibility to be
sure. And we've taken that
take that into an account.
So, at the end of the day, I've always felt like retirement plan is really about, and you may have heard me discuss this over the last 18 years, I call it faucets management. I like to think of people having money in pools, reservoirs, if you would, which we can then access for either income purposes, capital purposes, liquidity purposes, etc. And generally, I like to think of things I really like to think about there being 5 pools. An IRA, we're basically your pre-tax assets.
And that was formerly your retirement plan through work, 401k, 403b, right. 457, when you
SEP,
leave.
Whatever, sure, exactly.
And
then also, after-tax assets, Roth IRA assets. Those that have grown income tax deferred can continue to do so into the future.
Those also may have come from a retirement plan at work. Many companies are now offering 401k Roth options.
Or you could have been accumulating them on the side if you had an income that was low enough that you could do that and the money to be able to make those contributions.
Right.
The other, I guess, asset well, if you want to think about it, is what we call non-qualified assets, which are after-tax savings. These could be money markets, it could be CDs, it could be investment accounts.
That are not tax advantaged.
Yes, where you're paying current income taxes on either capital gains or dividends, and or the sale of securities. And then finally, two other, we think, reservoirs. Number one is Social Security benefits, making decisions about when to access these. And then certainly for many folks, they do also have pension elections. And we're not just talking about the timing of pension elections, which is important, but also whether you may have an option to either take those benefits as a lump sum or choosing some type of a income benefit, which if you're encumbered, you're married, could include a survivor benefit, and hopefully making those decisions as well. So every decision that we have has to really include federal income taxes. But there's also other taxes. Not only we think of it in two ways. Number one is federal income taxes today, but estate taxes later, which is the passing of assets on to the people that we love in the future. And obviously there are taxes in those situations as well. Even though you got a big exemption, something to consider. You know, do you convert IRA assets to Roth IRA so they're getting them tax-free? You know, do you hold on to non-qualified, non-retirement assets until your death versus gifting them?
Because you get a step up in
exactly.
basis.
So there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. And though we don't prepare the returns, in most cases, we're preparing all the information for the returns in either TurboTax or somebody's accountant, which I think probably represent, I don't even think 10% of our clients actually have CPAs. I think they're really, most of them are doing it on their own or they're using a program like TurboTax.
And I think that's because there is a bit of a misconception out there that taxes become more complicated in retirement. For most people, we're replacing a W-2 with a 1099. And the information is almost identical on there. Now you get to remove the FICA, the Medicare, the Social Security taxes that you see on your W-2 boxes because you don't pay those in retirement unless you're still working a part-time job or, you know, some consulting depending upon your, you know, if you're a W-2 employer or not.
I think the beauty here, though, is control.
Right.
Which is unlike during your working years where, you know, you like the idea, but either once a week or every 2 weeks, that money's going into your paycheck, period. You're going into your bank, you're consuming that money, etc. When it's time to plan for retirement, you're recreating your paycheck. And typically it's a combination of many sources, faucets, if you want to call them, whether it's drawing from retirement assets, so security, Roth IRAs, non-qualified assets, and pensions. Not just electing them, but what is the most effective way and timing to do that? How do we turn on and off faucets?
Right. So every decision, really, we have to consider a few things.
Well, the first thing to consider is tax effectiveness versus tax efficiency. The second would be liquidity. And then third, long-term versus short-term capital gains.
Right. So liquidity, I think, is an important one to consider because we always talk about after-tax assets being the most liquid because you don't have any ties on them any longer. You've already paid taxes on those. So we think of those as highly liquid versus IRA assets are liquid in the sense that you can access them depending upon what vehicles you've used inside of your IRA to invest in. Most are, you know, mutual funds, even individual securities, ETFs, index funds, once you've gotten through that holding period, are highly liquid. However, to extract those assets from your IRA, you're going to be paying taxes on them. So in our mind, that reduces their liquidity because a $50,000 event could become $60,000 or $75,000 depending upon your tax bracket.
Yeah, what's important here is to remember that we all fall under the same rules.
Right.
It's called the Internal Revenue Code. So the playbook is clear. It's like anything else. If you were looking at any competition that involves one or more teams or individuals, you know, who is the more skilled practitioner, number one. And then number two, who is the most knowledgeable one. And what I would say by that is that there are lots of options, rules that are there, and understanding them and how they apply to you can be very important. And that's one thing that we do with our clients, is to say, this is how the game plan is created, this is the path, and this is why, and really discuss the systematic need and timing of turning on and off faucets from various pools that we have to meet our goals.
I think before we get to a really good example of that, we should take our first break of the hour.
Let's do that.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
It's time to make a summertime splash with Dogtown Pizza. Hi, Josh here, and what better way to feed that hungry pool party than with a couple of Dogtown pizzas? And with 11 different varieties, there's something for every swimmer this summer. Who wants hamburgers from the grill when you can have it on your pizza? And fresh from the garden, it's tomato, basil, garlic. Just remember to wait 45 minutes before diving back in. Make a splash this summer with Dogtown Pizza.
Their name says it all. You're a professional roofer. It's Heidi. And when it comes to roofing, residential or commercial, I'd like you to choose family-owned and operated Your Professional Roofer. They have years of experience to handle any issue, and owner Mike Lametta oversees each residential job to ensure that it meets his standards. Your Professional Roofer also does siding replacement, replacement windows, and gutter repair and replacement. So schedule a free estimate now, 636-866-5660. That's yourprofessionalroofer.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
When you pay for tree work, you want to be sure you're getting the most for your hard-earned money. That's why you should always use the ISA-certified arborist at River City Tree Service in Baldwin, Missouri. Hi, I'm Steve with River City Tree Service, and we've been the go-to tree service since 2008. Tree removal, tree trimming, storm damage, deadwood removal, stump grinding, and more. Give River City Tree Service a call for all your tree service needs at 314-270-8071. That's 314-270-8071. River City Tree Service.
Staples has everything you need to help run your small business. Shipping supplies and services to help move orders out the door. Print and marketing services so you can print signs, banners, and presentations fast. And now during Staples Small Business Deal Days, you save 50% when you buy any combination of 5 or more boxes, mailers, and shipping tubes. Plus, find new deals for small business in-store every week. Keep your business running right and safe at Staples. Offer valid in-store, online order pickup, and Instacart. Exclusions apply. Not valid in Concord, New Hampshire location. Prices may vary. N71.
There's nothing like the aroma of your favorite entree cooking outside on a grill. And there's nothing like the thermal efficiency of a Big Green Egg to slow cook, sear, bake, or smoke that favorite entree. Frank Blair from Schnarr's Hardware here to tell you we have a Big Green Egg to fit your needs. There are 7 sizes of Big Green Eggs, so we're sure to have one that's right for you. We stock every size, from the double extra large to cook for a crowd.
That thing is huge and heavy.
All the way down to the Green Egg Mini.
It's so cute.
Perfect for picnics or tailgating. Don't forget to accessorize. We also stock accessories and sauces and rubs to complement any meal. So come to Schnarr's Hardware and let us help you get grilling with a Big Green Egg. Or go to schnarrs.com to see what's in stock, find our locations and hours, or to shop online. Grilling's easy when you start at Schnarr's.
The Bond County Fourth Fest is coming June 30th and July 1st in downtown Greenville, Illinois. This 2-day event is filled with live music, bounce houses, fireworks, food trucks, beer tents, a farmer's market, and so much more. McBride and the Ride will headline on Friday night, with superstar John Wade headlining on Saturday. All concerts are free. The Bond County Fourth Fest, just off Interstate 70 in Greenville, Illinois. For more information, visit myfourthfest.com or find them on Facebook. Brought to you in part by the Illinois Office of Tourism, and discover downstate Illinois in partnership with the Greenville Tourism.
Got gold? Get green at Jewels on Hampton. Jewels on Hampton pays the most for your precious metals, jewelry, gems, currency, antiques, and collectibles. Jewels on Hampton buys precious and semi-precious gems and stones, scrap gold, and sterling silver. Jewels on Hampton buys and sells paper money, wristwatches, and pocket watches. They even take pianos and cars. To sum up, bring your gold chains, bracelets, rings, coins, dental gold, and more to Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton Avenue in St. Louis. And get green. Online at jewelsonhampton.com.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
We're back with Straight Talk and Retirement. It's 9:30 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Hour number one is halfway done. It's cool. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877. And the very popular and getting hot text line, 84126. And so before we get to our texts, what I want to do is remind everybody in the first half hour, we're talking about tax planning and retirement. And philosophically, what we haven't gotten to, and we're going to have a discussion about this, is are we being tax effective or are we being tax efficient? And those two things are very different and have two different goals. But for Aaron and I, the way that we look at our clients is we look at their money as being in reservoirs. Pre-retirement assets, pre-tax assets, after-tax assets, tax-free assets, pensions, Social Security. An effective game plan is turning on the faucets and managing them over a long period of time to not only be tax effective, but also be tax efficient. And let's be honest, for Aaron and I, this is a blast. I mean, this is the game that we like to play, and it's fun because we have the rule book, the Internal Revenue Code. The rules do get updated, amended, changed so often.
And we'll even talk a little bit about that later in the show.
Absolutely. And again, we're not looking, we have two perspectives. We're looking at it for when our clients are here on this planet and what happens when they leave. How do we then pass these assets on in a most tax-efficient manner to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
That's what we do. So we don't prepare the return. Sorry. We leave that up to the scorekeepers. We like to play the game.
And it's got instant results, really.
Yes, it does. Well, that's great. And I know that our text line again is open, 84126, and we've got somebody on the, we do at least have one text to
This
answer.
is like a 27-part question, so.
That's cool.
We love those. And our first texter of the day writes, what is the best IRA? Can I deduct it when I file my 1040 form? Will it be taxed later? And are there rules on when I can withdraw and how much and at what age?
I feel like this is the CFP.
Yes, 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 and yes.
Yes.
I feel like this is the CFP exam. Like, this is a great question. What is the best IRA? The one that you're contributing to, I would think. So IRAs are just a...
Or eligible to contribute.
Or eligible to... That's a good point. You got to be eligible to contribute. I would think of an IRA as just the vessel that holds your money. You get to select what's inside of it, but the vessel determines the taxation, just like we've been talking about. Pools of money, this particular pool is it goes in tax-free for you, so you get to make a deduction on your taxes based on your contribution, and it's going to grow tax-deferred until you decide to start pulling money out, and then you will be taxed. You have to wait until you're 59 and a half to avoid any penalties, unless you have a specific exemption as to why you need to pull money out early, or you use a specific section of the tax code called 72T, which would allow for equal substantial distributions before you're 59 and a half. But you have to keep those consistent for 5 years or until you're 59 and a half, whichever is greater. So depending upon when you start will determine when you're allowed to end. So there are quite a few rules surrounding them, but I would say that the first thing to think about is these IRAs, they're individual retirement accounts. So the ultimate goal here is to create savings for you in retirement, which is why they put age limitations on them as to when you can start pulling money out.
Yeah, I was going to say that I thought we had a reasonably spirited discussion this morning at our office before the show. We talk about the subjects. And I think from a philosophical point of view, to answer this texter's question, one thing they need to consider is, assuming that they're eligible to participate in either a after-tax Roth IRA or pre-tax traditional IRA. If they're thinking about Roth, are they thinking about Roth as a pool to create income in the future? Or is it going to be a pool to be used and basically extinguished over a period of time for capital consumption events? And what I'm talking about is significant purchases. Cars, improvements on your deck, kitchen, etc., etc. Our experience has been is that our clients do not accumulate money in Roth or use their Roths as a source of income. They just don't. They actually become the liquidity pool next to their vault. And for some people, the Roth is their vault. So draining this vault to be tax efficient is not always tax effective, especially if you run out of money and you go,
Or run out of Roth IRA money.
Right, because, it isn't unusual if somebody will go, it's time to get that new car. Mm-hmm. It's $40,000. I need the cash. And by the way, you gave me all my Roth money to reduce my income taxes on the flow, but now I need a lump sum. And guess where we're going? Well, we're typically going to that after-tax account or the pre-tax account.
And for most people that are
paying taxes,
that are getting ready to retire or already retired, the component of Roth assets against the rest of their overall portfolio is usually a relatively low percentage. And I think we have a great example on deck here to kind of go through not only how the assets are mixed, but really what percentage they comprise of their overall portfolio and why it might not make sense to drain those assets to create an income stream versus using them for liquidity events or capital consumption needs.
Let me go back. I just had a thought here for our texter. Because we have no idea how old the texter is.
Or their income or their access to any retirement accounts elsewhere.
Right. So if we assume that they're not a youngster, which means that they're at least 59 and a half. Okay. If their interest is to develop a tax-free pool of dollars, doing it through your Roth makes sense. Doing a Roth, if you're eligible to do it, totally makes sense to me to do that if you want. Versus taking the money home and putting into your, hopefully, after-tax retirement account. If you're not eligible to make a Roth contribution, then guess what? You do a pre-tax contribution. It's all good. So if you're younger, though, and especially if you're child age, that is 20s, 30s, 40s, okay? Again, based on your current savings patterns, okay, if you're not saving a lot of money, you're consuming a lot, doing a Roth IRA probably doesn't make any sense because you can't touch it until 59 and a half.
Or you're going to pay a 10% penalty to pull it out.
Exactly. And then the money still has to be in there for 5 years for the interest itself to be considered tax-free. So, again, using retirement accounts to deal with liquidity needs don't always make sense.
Right.
So it's very individualized, but the cool part is this is a fun game. Truly for us, this is fun. Try to answer these questions, and we appreciate them coming in 84126 on the text line or 314-931-5877.
We have a fantastic Medicare-related question, so I think we're just going to hold that particular one until the next hour, so
Sounds
we can.
Good.
I really would like the opportunity to talk about Joe and Sally.
Well, let's do it.
So Joe and Sally have, Rob, why don't you tell us what they have in assets?
They have $1.7 million in a traditional IRA. Woohoo!
Yeah,
That's great.
it's a nice savings.
They have $100,000 in a Roth IRA, and they have $50,000 in their vault. And I also want to make mention that Joe and Sally are both 64.
So, I mean, this is a really good example of the breakdown of what I would say 85+% of our clients comprise. The majority of their assets are held inside of retirement accounts because they spent their entire working careers contributing to 401ks, having their employers contribute, taking those tax breaks as they go because you get deductions for those contributions as you go. And then maybe a small amount of Roth because when they started out, or maybe they had just gained access to a Roth 401k before they retired because those are a relatively newer piece of the retirement puzzle for people. They've got a little piece in Roth, and then they've done a nice job of creating a decent-sized vault for themselves.
Yes, and a couple things here. Their combined income, gross, today is approximately $170,000. So they have a nice family.
So they're both still working.
But guess what?
What?
Their net checks, that is how much they're actually getting deposited into their accounts every year that they consume, is around $90,000.
So that net really represents less taxes, less 401k plan contributions, less ancillary benefits through work that you're paying for. This is what is left to live off of once you actually receive your pay.
I mean, it's about 60%. And I would suggest here that even though their numbers may not be similar to yours, if you take a look at your paycheck, and please do it. You'll find out you're really only getting about 60% of what you actually earn is the net. That's the part you're living on. So any calculator that you would think of using other than Jeff and Aaron's brain, okay? You're going to a website, and they're like, what's your current income?
And they're going to take 80%.
It's ludicrous because the truth is that you don't live off your gross. You live off your net.
And in retirement, we don't have to save anymore. We just don't spend what we've already saved. So you don't have to necessarily factor in a savings component. Now, what we will do, Joe and Sally didn't mention to us that they were saving in addition to their retirement plans at work. If we are chatting with individuals like Joe and Sally and they say, well, you know, we're taking home about $90,000 a year, but we're putting away $10,000 a year in savings and we're not spending it. We're putting away for, you know, a rainy day. We haven't touched it. We could literally take another $10,000 off of their net pay, making it $80,000 in that example because they're not spending it.
Now, we know that Joe and Sally, neither of them have access to a pension plan. However, when we combine their Social Security benefits at their normal retirement ages, which aren't too far away, about 3 years, they're going to have about $5,000 a month of Social Security benefits. That earns a woohoo for sure.
Yeah, because that's like 2/3 of their net pay.
They want 90. They need 6. They're going to have 60. They only need 30. Well, we increase that by tax as a taxable amount, 30 times 1.2%, 20%, which is really high, but we do it anyways that way.
It creates a buffer on a few levels, a buffer for inflation, a buffer for new expenses for hobbies potentially while you're making replacements from going to work. So we found that over the last 20 years that has worked as a decent buffer. Buffer changes depending upon tax rates, but
yeah, so we know that they need about $36,000 a year. We divide that by 4%. That gives us our magic number, their magic number of how much capital they need using a proven rate of withdrawal to have an income stream they can live on. It's $900,000. Well, they've got $1.7 million in IRA assets. Hello, rock stars. Another $100,000 in Roth. Hello, rock stars. So they have more than enough at this point, if you look at it, where they could, one or both of them, delay their Social Security decisions if they want. They could take it immediately if they want. They could, they're working, again, if they're going to work between now and normal retirement age, that would be a factor. They don't have a tax issue.
Right.
And the cool part is that with Joe and Sally, and this is what's really important, just anecdotally, 80% of our clients have a gross income of less than $90,000 in retirement. They just do. Well, guess what? That equates to a 12% federal tax rate. Not a marginal tax rate, an effective tax rate, which is the rate you pay across all of your income.
And it really even gets slightly better than that because I think it's important to now I think it's important to talk about how things are taxed. And let's start with the base of most people's retirement income, which is Social Security.
Social Security for married couples filing jointly is all income plus half your Social Security benefit. If that number is less than $32,000 a year, there's no tax at all.
On your Social Security.
Correct.
Cool.
If, for couples filing jointly, if that number is between $32,000 and $44,000, half of Social Security is taxable at your tax rate.
Which, Dad, you mentioned about 12%.
Which, by the way, almost every person on the planet falls within one of these two brackets. Typically in the middle bracket, I mean, it's kind of hard. Just look at Joe and Sally. They've got $60,000 of Social Security benefits. So we're taking half of that. That's $30,000. Well, we know that they need another a lot more. They need another $3,000 a month to live. Well, guess what? When we add that in, guess what? Hoo-hoo! They're over that number. So
and
they go
into
that once they go over 44,000.
Now, if you're over 44,000, 85% of your Social Security is taxed at your tax rate.
So, Dad, you really just did the formula that Rob described, which is you take all of your income. Now, everyone's probably thinking something clever like non-taxable interest. Nah, you got to add that back in. Sorry, guys. So if you have municipal bonds or something that's not taxed at the state level, you still have to add that back in to this particular calculation. You take half of Social Security. So we know that Joe and Sally were going to need $30,000 of income plus half of their Social Security benefit is $30,000, bringing that total to $60,000. They automatically fall into the 85% of their Social Security benefits going to be taxable. That's okay. They need that to live.
Yeah, well, I mean, and what's funny is let's go the other way. Let's just say that they decided, okay, we're going to drain our Roth. We need at 36,000. We got 100. That well, basically that should be good for 3 years. So we're not going to pay taxes on our Social Security for 3 years. Big deal. You're talking about half of it was subject to tax, 30,000, a 12% bracket. You saved about $3,600. Sorry.
Well, 85% was subject to tax.
Well, that's at the top, but I'm saying if they didn't have it would be in the middle. It doesn't matter because guess what happens after they get rid of their Roth?
Now you're into taxable assets.
That's right. Fully taxable.
Mm.
And we're also having a discussion about what if they want to buy a second home? What if they need a new dock at the lake? What if they
want to replace a car?
Exactly.
Or a boat.
Or they have a marriage in the family. Or we can come up with or they want to take that dream trip, which is over and above their current savings. They're tapping those pre-tax assets, creating more income. So is it effective? Is it efficient? That's something that we also have to consider over the long haul. And I guess what it gets to, to me, it frustrates me, truly, to hear people talk about tax planning. Look, there's things that you don't do to shoot yourself in the foot. Okay, the biggest one is real simple. The biggest one is you report all your income. That's where you get in trouble. But other than that, how you're taking your income, if your income is at 90,000 or less, which most people is,
you're in the less than 12% tax bracket.
Right. Why do a Roth conversion? Are you kidding me? It doesn't make a lot. I mean, there are a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense. But you have to test the numbers.
And with that, let's take our second break of the hour
Let's
before
do that.
we continue this conversation.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
When you want custom cabinetry for your home or business, go to Paris Kitchens. Paris Kitchens is a third-generation business owned by Scott Hutter and his son Brad, and they've designed and built high-end custom kitchens and baths for more than 30 years. But Paris Kitchens is so much more. They also do one-of-a-kind fine cabinetry for your law, dental, or medical office, or a custom reception desk to make your lobby unique. Go to Paris for design and installation of your next project. Paris Kitchens. ParisKitchensSTL.com.
Everyone at Schrader Funeral Home would like to wish you a safe and joyous 4th of July holiday. Join us in celebrating the signing of the Declaration of Independence and the birth of the United States of America as an independent nation. Schrader Funeral Home and Crematory is proud to be a part of this great country.
Okay, let's talk about St. Louis weather for a minute. Had some high winds, had some incredible heat, and you know what? Last week was rough, too. Well, just imagine what all of this is doing to the outside of your home, whether it's the roofing or some siding blew off. Lucky for you, I know who can fix it. It's Allen Roofing. They've been doing folks' homework for quite some time, and they can do yours, too. Look, it's one of your biggest investments you're ever going to make. Take care of it. And do it with someone trusted by thousands and thousands of your friends and neighbors. It's Allen Roofing, Siding, Tuck Pointing. It's too much to put in one name. Let's just call it Allen Roofing. Find them online, aroofing.net.
Summer is here, and that means vacation time. Why not hit the road in a new or used RV from Bill Thomas Camper Sales in Winsville? Bill Thomas Camper Sales has been family-owned and operated for over 55 years. They offer an extensive selection of new and used RVs, featuring an American icon, the Airstream. Bill Thomas Camper Sales in Winsville, 636-327-5900, or online at btcamper.com. Here's James Anderson, president of Approved Home Improvements.
A lot of people notice their chimney after damage has already occurred. With the preservation package, you can ensure years of use without any costly repairs. The one story is normally $550 and a two story is normally $750.
Get your preservation package now by calling 314-780-6080.
Don't hope you're safe. Know you're safe. Call Approved for all your chimney and tuck pointing needs.
314-780-6080.
When you pay for tree work, you want to be sure you're getting the most for your hard-earned money. That's why you should always use the ISA certified arborist at River City Tree Service in Baldwin, Missouri. Hi, I'm Steve with River City Tree Service, and we've been the go-to tree service since 2008. Tree removal, tree trimming, storm damage, deadwood removal, stump grinding, and more. Give River City Tree Service a call for all your tree service needs at 314-270-8071. That's 314-270-8071. River City Tree Service.
Well, I heard back from the window store, WS Window and Door, and they would like for me to thank everybody because the response to their new advertising has been outstanding. The window store, WS Window and Door, has been around a long time, and Larry Thornton is handing the business over to his son, Joe, and Joe wants to take the business to the next level. So WS Window and Door is back as an advertiser on the Big 550 KTRS, and they don't want to sell you a window. They want to give you a bid. They'll let their bid do their talking. If you are interested in a vinyl replacement window, an aluminum-clad window, maybe a wood window, maybe an entry door, maybe a sliding door, let WS Window and Door give you a bid. They're all energy-efficient windows. There's no upselling. There's no gimmicks. One price and one price only. Let them give you a bid. WS Window and Door, 314-739-0002, or online at wswindow.net. The window store, WS Window and Door.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
We're back with Straight Talk on Retirement. We've got about 5 minutes left in this hour, but you know not to touch that dial because we have our second hour of power.
Right, we'll be kicking off our Medicare conversation at the top of the second hour, and along with the text question. So texter, hold on tight. You had a Medicare question. We're going to get to it. But
let's get to our next text question, and our texter writes, "Good morning. Could you talk about utilizing a health savings account as a retirement vehicle? I contribute the maximum every year as well as maxing out my 401k. To maximize the HSA, I understand that you should pay medical deductions and expenses out of pocket. Is this correct? Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's awesome. Maxing out the 401k and maxing out your HSA.
That's a rock star.
That is a rock star in the making.
Love that. But the HSA is there to be used at some point in time in the future.
Absolutely. So I think there are a few things here. If you're looking to just build up your HSA, and I talk about this, or I have talked about this frequently with individuals when we're talking about Medicare, is, they're very concerned about building in copays and prescription drug expenses into their budget. Most people pay their copays out of excess cash. Like, you don't quantify that while you're still working. You're just, taking the $5 or the $50 now in some cases out of your wallet to pay, or just putting on your charge and paying it off. If you have extraordinary prescription costs, which we'll get to in the second hour on Medicare, that's something we might work into your expenses, but the copays not necessarily. I would say if you're looking to just build up your HSA, then yes, let's not pull copays and out of your HSA until you get to retirement. However, if you use it now or you use it later, it's still all of your money. So it's just, what bucket are we pulling it out of? Are you taking it out of your wallet?
I think what's important here also is really to talk a little bit about, if you would, what are some of the things that you can and maybe want to pull money out for once you've hit Medicare eligibility?
So pre-Medicare eligibility, you can essentially use it for copays, co-insurance. You go to the doctor, you have a surgery, dental expenses, eyeglasses, anything medically related. The IRS has an excellent website where you can, irs.gov, take a look at qualified medical expenses. They'll give you the whole list of what you're able to purchase, even some over-the-counter things. When you transition off of your employer-based plan or your individual health insurance policy that has afforded you the HSA component, the world opens up even a little bit more for you in terms of what you can pay for. So you can pay for everything I just mentioned, plus everything on the IRS website, plus Medicare Part B premiums, long-term care premiums, supplemental premiums if you've elected a lettered policy, copays from your Medicare Advantage plan. You can still pay for dental, for vision. You can use it for hearing aids. So there are a lot of additional things that you can pay for with your HSA in retirement that could help offset some of your expenses. Now, mechanically, your Medicare Part B premiums coming right out of Social Security, you can actually reimburse yourself using your HSA for those Medicare Part B premiums. So generally we see these HSAs get depleted, but the other piece is, if you decide to retire early, before you're 65 years old, you can pay COBRA premiums with your HSA if you're no longer attached to that plan.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can pay individual medical premiums. If you're not using COBRA, you're going to use an individual policy, you can do that. Now, you can't use, let's say that you retire and you jump onto your spouse's policy. You're not a part of the HSA plan that you once were before. You can't use the HSA dollars to offset the additional premium that your spouse is so generously paying through their paycheck.
So there's lots of things that you can do pre-Medicare age, certainly afterwards. So we certainly we commend the person for making those contributions. Continue to do that. It really is, again, it's triple tax advantage. You get a deduction for putting the money in. It grows income tax deferred, and you don't pick it up as long as you're using it for qualified expenses on the way back down.
And the other beautiful thing about the HSA, I've never seen this happen yet, but it's absolutely possible that it may in the future. If you pass away with money still inside of your HSA, your beneficiary gets to continue on. So you never lose this money. It always stays part of the estate. And I have not seen any IRS rulings on I don't even know if they're called beneficiary HSAs. There's no rules on how long you have to drain them. So lots of really cool options.
I don't even know.
HSAs.
Or can you pay funeral expenses from HSAs?
I do not believe that you can pay funeral expenses through an HSA, but that's a clever idea. And the text line is really heating up now, so everyone please stay through the break because we're going to get to Medicare, we're going to get to some more tax questions, we're going to get to an early withdrawal questions.
And don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after these messages for more Straight Talk on Retirement.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to hour number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and thanks so much for tuning in today. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from our very busy text line. Babe, are we going to take the text?
We're taking the text. Let's go.
Before we go into our smart choices about our healthcare segment.
Exactly.
And our next texter writes, Missouri is one of only 12 states that taxes Social Security. Bill SB 190 is waiting for the governor to sign. What do you know about this?
I know that Bill SB 190 is waiting for the governor to sign.
One of our clients said the other day we're becoming more and more like Illinois every day.
Well, I think...
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, we're still not quite to the point where no retirement assets are taxable at the state level, but I haven't read anything to imply that the bill won't be signed.
Well, and if it is, which would be great for many of our clients, when the state runs deficits, they're going to raise
others' taxes.
That's right. That's what they do. So they're happy to give with one hand, take away with the other, because I don't think that this state wants to get in the same financial position as California or
our neighbor,
Illinois. And we know Rob's an Easterner because he called it Illinois.
It's not.
It's Illinois. The SSI.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of like San Luis.
Good question.
And our next texter, this is a great one. I'm listening closely, and I'm crying. Please, sir, don't cry.
Not yet.
My wife wants to take almost 80% out of my IRA for elective cosmetic procedures. Am I going to get penalized for early withdrawals? I'm 57. Yes, you will be penalized 10%.
Unfortunately, there is no cosmetic procedure exemption. Thank you. I mean, hopefully she's going to look real nice, though, after. That could be a reason not to cry.
And if you don't agree, you won't be seeing her after she retires, most likely.
Yes, I would say if this is a priority, that maybe have a chat with someone about some alternative ways to access funds.
Make a loan. If you have a 401k, make a loan.
Or if you have a 401k that you haven't, if you've retired, you have a 401k you haven't rolled over yet.
How about your HSA? Can you make a distribution for that?
Not for not for elective procedures.
Good to know. Thank you.
But I was thinking you could use the over 55 rule, where if you had left the money, if the money's still inside your 401k as opposed to an IRA, then you could make those withdrawals without penalty. You'd pay taxes, though. That's the other piece of this, which is, if you're taking a large sum out of your IRA under 59.5, you're paying taxes, but you're also paying the penalty. So just add 10% on top of the taxes that you'll be paying.
And you would think that, again, depending on the company's health plan,
elective procedures usually aren't covered under group health insurance benefits either.
Understood, but who knows how really elective it is? It could be selective as compared to elective.
Like you have a deviated septum, so you get the nose job.
There you go.
We'll probably need a little bit more info, but I would also just say that there are other avenues to access funds that may be more affordable, even though they may seem less desirable on the front end, right? Taking on debt would be less expensive.
And one thing we would love to find out, truthfully, what happens in your situation, but no pictures, please.
Yeah, I would love to find that out.
I almost feel like cosmetic surgery is kind of like tattoos. Like it never just stops with one procedure. Like, I was only going to get one tattoo, and then before you know it, I have a sleeve.
Well, if they're going to take 80% out of the IRA, they may be down to just the one procedure.
There you go. Or this could be just one isolated IRA also. We really don't have enough information. So,
and not to make light, but
that's correct.
A little bit.
No pictures, please. Okay.
You know what? I think it's time. The fans are waiting. Smart choices about your health care.
Sponsored this week and every single week
by our very good friends at Aetna and Anthem of Missouri.
Thank you to our sponsor.
So Frank had a chat with one of our financial clients this week. Her name's Beverly. She moved down to Florida at the beginning of the year to spend some time with her daughter and with her grandchildren after she retired. She was planning on staying in Florida for the full year before coming back to St. Louis. She has the United Healthcare Plan G and a SilverScript prescription drug plan. So she elected traditional Medicare using a supplement and a standalone prescription drug plan.
So she can see any doc that Medicare accepts then, right?
Yes, she can. But she got a letter from United Healthcare saying it looks like she changed her residence and to call the company because her coverage was going to be canceled as of January 1st. And so Bev called and said, like, Frank, what do I do here? What's going on? So the important thing is it sounds like Bev must have changed her address not only with just like a forwarding of her mail, but it sounds like she must have called Social Security and updated her address to Florida, essentially making Medicare believe that she was now a Florida resident.
Because otherwise they wouldn't have done anything, would they have?
They wouldn't have even known that it happened. Now, with supplemental policies, although, like you mentioned, Dad, they are good throughout the country, meaning you can see any physician that accepts Medicare anywhere in the country, they are still community and regionally based in terms of premium. So United Healthcare is a national organization. They do offer supplemental plans in Florida. However, their risk pools are state-based. So they're going to ask Bev if she's truly moved to Florida, she needs to be part of that risk pool now, potentially changing her premium. So it is important really to make the distinction for yourself. If you're on an extended travel situation, which it sounds like that's what Bev was doing, you don't want to start changing everything. Obviously, have your mail forwarded if that's important. You know, your Social Security check is direct deposited into your account. You can't play both sides against the middle, essentially, because if Bev was thinking, I get a year without state taxes, state income taxes, because Florida doesn't have income taxes in their for the state, then now she's going to have to switch Medicare Advantage plans. She's going to have to switch supplement plans and take the United Healthcare Plan G through Florida versus it having it in Missouri. Now, that's completely fine, but you may find that there's a spike in premium. We mainly deal with individuals that are in Missouri and Illinois. Obviously, we follow our clients to wherever they may go and can help them choose their plans, but we're not experts in the premium, so I don't have it off the top of my head what the premium difference would be between Missouri and Florida. But the nice thing is anybody moving out of state or even moving out of the service area for their plan has what's called a special election, which gives them the opportunity to select a new policy without any medical underwriting. So it's like a do-over from the first day that you were originally on Medicare. You can choose whatever you'd like that's available where you go. But knowing that Bev has a plan to move back to Missouri in literally less than 6 months, why toggle back and forth like that? You should just kind of leave things as they are. You'd have access to everything. The prescription drug plans, they are also state and regionally based. However, you can access your prescriptions through whatever national pharmacy, or you can change your mail order delivery, and that doesn't trigger any changes to the plan itself to go wherever you'd like to go. So that would have been our first suggestion, but now that we're in this position, Frank's recommendation was go ahead and take the Plan G that they're offering you at United Healthcare through Florida. We can switch over also your Silver Scripts prescription drug plan as well, and then notify us when you come back to St. Louis that it's time to make the change again. And also, if your plans change and you decide to stay in Florida longer, then you've already made the switch. But it's really important to make that distinction. The other piece is that if Bev had been on a Medicare Advantage plan, they allow you to be outside of your network for 364 days, not including the leap year. So, you just have to be in your service area for 1 day of the year in order to maintain your Medicare Advantage plan. If she had elected a United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plan or an Aetna Medicare Advantage plan, they are national networks as well. So as long as they're going to accept a United Healthcare policy where she went in Florida, she would have access to in-network options or out-of-network if she chose a physician that wasn't accepting United Healthcare.
I don't imagine that Bev's run away from those grandkids too quick.
Right.
And so she may end up deciding to stay there.
Which means she's already all set up now, but getting that letter is a little bit of a scare. So knowing on the front end what's going to happen and what the process is really important. So if you want to give Frank a call, if you're someone that's going to be a snowbird or a partial snowbird and you have some questions about how that impacts your policy, then Frank is absolutely here to assist with that. Frank, Lin, at jblfinancial.com is a great way to get in touch with him through email, or you can always call the office, 314-863-0008, to get in touch with him if you have similar questions. Also, before you make a move, it's a quick phone call. You don't have to do anything in that moment, but you know what the process will be as opposed to getting a scare letter. That's what I call them, the anxiety letter.
It's great to have that resource in-house, and it's certainly available to all of our financial planning as well as Medicare current clients.
And we've got some Medicare text coming through, and our next texter writes, can you talk about the travel benefits for traditional Medicare and Medicare Advantage?
Absolutely. So with traditional Medicare, you don't really have to worry much about travel within the United States because any physician that accepts Medicare will accept you. That even goes as far as if you decide that you're going to have a procedure done out of state, as long as the facility and the physician are in network, you won't have any issues. So travel there is not a big deal. The prescription drug plans, like I mentioned before, as long as you're filling at an in-network pharmacy wherever you have to be, you're not tied to, your local CVS, for example. With Medicare Advantage, now that's domestic travel. International travel, traditional Medicare policies have a lifetime cap of $45,000. So that's the most that Medicare is going to spend on you if you're out of the country. With Medicare Advantage, you have domestic travel, which would be ER and urgent care are covered throughout the country. If you select a plan that has national network access, you too may have the ability to see physicians in other states. You just want to check with your plan details first. International travel, you have ER access throughout the world. And there is no lifetime cap on your international travel benefits. However, I still recommend, no matter what type of Medicare Advantage or traditional Medicare policy that you have, that you add on an international travel policy. They're inexpensive compared to the prices that you will face if something happens internationally. And Medicare, all of your supplements and Medicare Advantage plans are still governed by the rules of Medicare. So if Medicare's rules disagree with what the facility wants to do, for example, we've had in the past where a client needed to be medevaced out of Germany. The hospital in Germany wanted 2 nurses on the medevac. They wouldn't release it without 2 nurses. Medicare would only cover 1 nurse. Now, that might seem like a small amount to pay the price of 1 nurse to get you back home, but if you had a international travel policy, that would have been covered for you. They would have released the Medevac, no problem. If you have the Medicare Advantage plan or the supplement, they're going to charge you for that extra one to release the Medevac. So it's important to kind of layer on your coverage as well, because no one, unfortunately, knows all of the specific rules of international travel with Medicare, not even the people that wrote it. So just gives you a little extra protection.
Good to know.
Yes.
And our next texter, and they're coming in fast and furious, writes, I spend a lot of time in Florida. In fact, I spend a little more than half the year in Florida. My primary residence is in Missouri.
No, it's not. It's in Florida.
Should I change my primary residence to Florida and get a Florida plan? Also, can you mention some of the pros and cons of going with traditional versus Advantage for someone who spends most of their time in Florida?
Why is everyone in Florida?
Because it's beautiful.
Why are we not in Florida? So the first question, my primary residence.
Your mom doesn't like Florida, by the way.
She
doesn't like humidity in Florida. That's why we have California.
So the humidity here is, superior.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This is more than just a Medicare question, in my opinion. Should I change my residence to Florida? You have tax considerations, as well. In this particular point, I would say that if your main residence is here, your physician network is here, I would not necessarily change my plan. If you have a traditional Medicare policy, then you can see anyone you'd like that accepts Medicare. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, then my suggestion would be that you choose a plan that gives you the best access to a national network, meaning United or Aetna, because in those cases, you may be able to create a new network of physicians for yourself in Florida, and you won't see any issue. I do know that Missouri has some of the best plans in the country on the Medicare Advantage side of things. The hospital systems here are so excellent that they're really able to negotiate great plans with the insurance companies to create really nice benefits for people. So I've seen when I compare to the Northeast, to California, even to the Southwest or the Southeast, that we're really still very competitive. So that may be a reason to maintain your residence in Missouri. But on the other side, like we talked about taxes, there are no income taxes in Florida. So that's a really important thing to consider, that I wouldn't this is only one piece of that decision.
It's a good text.
Great
awesome.
Text.
And the next texter writes, is international travel covered? But I think we already went through that.
Yeah.
So
I think we hit that pretty nicely, but we do have, this text came in early in the first hour, so we definitely want to get to it.
And our texter writes, scenario, a person has an expensive drug whereas their responsibility is, say, $6,000 or more monthly with an Advantage plan with all the grants and discounts applied. Would they still have been in the same situation had they had a straight Medicare with drug plan? Also, can a person get on a drug plan with an Advantage plan?
Man, I love these compound questions that we're getting today. So first, it sounds like the very expensive prescription most likely is on the Medicare tier of your prescription drug plan that you have through Medicare Advantage. So without any additional information, if that is the case, all of the Medicare drug tiers are identical across each of the prescription drug plans, so you might not have seen a substantial difference there. Unfortunately, you cannot couple a Medicare Advantage plan with another prescription drug plan unless you are using the only medical savings account Medicare Advantage plan through Lasso. They're the only company that's currently offering it. You can take a Medicare savings account plan and add a prescription drug plan to that because the original plan has no prescription drug coverage. Medicare does not allow you to double up on your prescription drug coverage if you have a Medicare Advantage plan because you selected a built-in prescription drug plan. If you if you enroll in just a prescription drug plan during open enrollment, that is all you will be left with on January 1st. You will have no medical. So please do not do that. They'll automatically drop the Medicare Advantage plan for you. What we would be happy to do is if you want to, contact the office either through jblfinancial.com in the Contact Us section, give us a call at 314-863-0008, or email Frank directly at franklin@jblfinancial.com. He'd be happy to run an analysis for you to determine, hey, is this the best option moving forward, or are you even on the best Medicare Advantage plan moving forward for this particular prescription? If we find that, unfortunately, maybe that you are stuck, then at least you know that you're in the best possible space. And I know that they are working on a lot of ways to try to bring prescription costs down for individuals on Medicare, but that seems to be a mantra that hasn't really come to fruition for everyone yet. So
that was a good one. And again, even though the drug itself might be running $6,000 a month, you're not paying that much because
no, it sounds like that was his out-of-pocket expense for the prescription. So
that's really a drag.
Yes, and the other thing is that for a lot of people, unfortunately, the texter mentioned discounts and grants. A lot of the discounts and grants that were available to individuals before they went on to Medicare are no longer available because public assistance automatically disqualifies you from a lot of these grants and discount programs, and unfortunately Medicare, because it's a government program, is considered government assistance. So that's an unfortunate shock to a lot of people as well.
That's very good. Babe, why don't we take our first break of the hour?
Let's do it.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Now is when Coventry turns confusion into clarity. Coventry Healthcare has got a simple approach to care. By listening to their members, Coventry can make plans that work harder for you and your budget. The result? They offer great service and clear costs. If you're looking for a plan that's more about you, give them a call at 1-855-338-9551, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's 1-855-338-9551. Now is the time to call Coventry Healthcare.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now is when a small change can make a big difference. If you're not happy with your current Medicare coverage, take a look at Coventry Healthcare. They have a wide range of plans with great service and clear costs, including medical and drug coverage in one simple plan. Just call 1-855-338-9551, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. That's 1-855-338-9551. Now's the time to call Coventry Healthcare.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the second half of the second hour of Straight Talk on Retirement.
It's just fun.
I know. I really hope the sun comes back out again.
From your mouth to God's ears.
And we still have some great text questions on deck. So
we do.
Let's get to them.
And thank you to all the texters out there. You really liven up the show. Keep them coming.
Please.
But our next texter writes, what accounts do RMDs, which are required minimum distributions, have to come out of?
This is an excellent question.
It is.
So, it depends, doesn't it?
It does.
For yourself, if you've reached the age of required minimum distribution, which, Dad, is that considered an adult at this point?
Grown up.
Grown up. If you are a grown up and you are 73, then You have to take required minimum distributions out of your traditional IRA accounts. Also, if you happen to left money inside of your traditional 401k account, you have to take required minimum distributions from that. You do not have to take required minimum distributions from Roth accounts or from your after-tax accounts or if you have a trust account. None of those are subject to required minimum distributions. This is only your IRA assets. Dad, you said this to me probably over 10 years ago, which is it's a math problem. So what you do on one side, you have to do to the other. You didn't pay taxes on the money going in, so you have to pay taxes on the money going out. On your Roth, you paid taxes before you put the money into the Roth, which is why this one's not subject to a required minimum distribution as the tax code stands now.
Inheritors of Roth accounts have to empty that in 10 years.
That's right. Now, the IRS made some rulings on, are they called rulings or?
Changes.
So they clarified what Congress had done in the Secure Act, which was, like you mentioned, Rob, having to liquidate beneficiary accounts within 10 years.
Traditional or Roth.
Right. But they also stipulated that if the individual you inherited the money from was taking required minimum distributions, that was your new minimum on a traditional IRA account for those 10 years, the max, and with the stipulation that at the 10th year you had to drain the whole thing. Roths aren't subject to the RMD amount on an annual basis, but just like you said, Rob, they are subject to distribution in the 10th year. No
honey,
taxes, though.
Honey, can I inject something here?
If you must.
Yes. It's called, it's okay to relaxes about the taxes. Because at the end of the day, what we're talking about is for a person that's age 73, the approximate withdrawal percentage, which is based on the value at the beginning of the year of that traditional account, is 4%.
It's like 3.85.
Right. It's like that. Forget about it. It's not a lot of money if you have $1 million IRA. Woo-hoo! That's $38,500 or about $3,000 a month. And if you go back to our previous example, Joe and Sally,
the likelihood
it fit in beautiful.
You're right, because the likelihood that you are already taking distributions from your retirement accounts in retirement before you get to 73 years old is very high. Most individuals live off of, I think Ronald Reagan called it the three-legged stool. It's really more like a two-legged stool at this point because you have your asset accumulation that you're living off of and Social Security.
And if you aren't,
that's really cool.
That's cool, but you can reduce the taxation of those, possibly if you're making charitable contributions today to places. What we do is we do them for you through your IRA, and you reduce the taxable amount dollar for dollar. Or alternatively, as we're doing with many folks, and Rob's been involved with this for us, is many of our clients are saying, hey, great, I don't need the money. I'm just going to put it back into my savings account. Why don't I do something to increase the size of the inheritances that the people are going to get tax-free?
We love that.
And we love that. And those are options that are there. So, RMDs, can you really avoid them? The answer is no. Do you want to avoid them? No. You don't have to. The ability to continue to defer current income on these assets, not only income, but in theory capital gains, on these assets as they grow is fabulous. You're not going to, with a 4% withdrawal rate, I'm just using the rule of 72, which is the doubling rule, at a 4% rate, it's going to take 25 years to, in theory, exhaust an IRA. Guess what? How old are you going to be at that point? 99, 98? Don't worry about it.
And the goal is not to drain them.
That's right. I mean, the IRS's goal is for you to drain them. And you will try, but I will say that anecdotally, I have never seen any of our clients who are making normal required minimum distributions ever
exhaust their account.
Well, they couldn't, because what happens is we're investing them, and they do occasionally. We're not allowed to say we make people money, because then we get in trouble. But being invested over long periods of time, prudently, based on your risk tolerance in moderate portfolios, you have an opportunity to recover
positive returns.
Well, what you've withdrawn.
Sure.
And as an example, if this year, as we didn't talk about today, but in the first half of the year today, the markets, we saw some recovery. We didn't recover what happened last year, but we had a nice recovery through the first half in certain sectors. Folks probably saw those accounts grow, and in many cases, they may have grown more than 2%,
which is what they'd be at the halfway mark of their required minimum distribution.
If you've been taking it on a monthly basis. So don't worry about relaxes when it comes to tax.
I feel like that's like a Sesame Street segment soon.
I'm trying. That's all I can say. I'm working on it. I'm
making it fun.
There you go. Well, that's what it is. It is fun. Planning for retirement is a lot of fun.
I think, just to highlight the required minimum distribution conversation, if we just go back to Joe and Sally, was that our couple from our first hour where we were talking about what faucets to turn on in terms of how to create income? We had that about $1.7 million of retirement assets.
Yes.
So instead of being 64, if we fast forwarded to 73 years old, that would make their current need was about $30,000 from their retirement assets. With the required minimum distribution, that would bring it to about $64,000 is what they would need to withdraw.
Yes, that's correct.
And if we add the $30,000 on top of that of their Social Security, that brings them to 95. Oh no, it was 60,000 of Social Security. I'm sorry.
Yes, 60,000 Social Security. So they're basically going to be about 20,000 over the 90,000, the 11% threshold. So that differential is going to get taxed at about 15%. Are you kidding me?
And that assumes that they made no charitable donations.
Correct.
Using their IRA assets over that year.
Yeah, again, you're looking at about $4,000 of additional taxes on an initial $20,000 of income.
And a little caveat on the charitable distributions, that has to come directly from the custodian. Like, it isn't like you take your RMD, it comes into your account, then you make, no, it has to go directly from.
Exactly, that's a really good point. If this is something that you're looking to do to help reduce your tax liability, then you do want to contact your advisor or your custodian and say that you would like to disperse money directly from your IRA to a specific 501c3 charity.
Yeah, that would really stink for someone to be very charitable with their RMD and not get the tax reduction. Because it was done improperly. So you just, want to make sure you're sitting down with your advisor to make sure that, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed when it comes to these things.
Especially with the changes to the tax code and increasing the standard deduction to the point where a lot of people are not itemizing anymore, because you could still do it on the back end. You took the distribution and then you're going to record your charitable contribution as an itemized deduction. But if you can't use if you can't itemize, then exactly it kind of took away the benefit.
No shooting yourself in the foot.
Right. And I was going to say, in our process, basically it starts at, I want to say mid-January to early February. We're contacting all of our clients who are eligible to receive required minimum distributions.
We call them the newbies.
Right. And what we're then doing is we're comparing what they're currently taking to how much they're required to take and letting them know, is there a differential? We're checking with them to say, hey, you have an opportunity to do the things that you're doing today. That is, if you are making charitable contributions, no more cutting checks. We'll talk about us doing it for you because there's a tax benefit to that. And for those that are already involved in doing that, we're doing that for them. we're checking the list and saying, hey, are these the people that are currently receiving money? Do you want them to continue to receive money? Do you want to change the amount? Do you want to add? Do you want to subtract? It's a great process for them because it gives them an opportunity not only for us to give our annual our update for what happened last year, but really talk about doing the tax planning front. Also find out, hey, by the way, if you don't need the money, or if you do need the money, or there's specific times that you do need specific amounts of money, what we can do then is plan for that. And as Aaron will let our clients know, and again, they're all listeners, so you're listening today. Next week we'll be sending out our normal rebalance email to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And by the way, let us know if we don't already know. Are there, I guess I like to call them capital consumption events that we need to plan for large sums of money. When do we need them? So that we make sure that money is set aside in cash, so that it really is there for them, and we can make that distribution, that net amount we're withholding taxes for them is from their IRAs, to make that happen. So it's fun.
Yes, it is.
Being invited on the journey, and not just sitting in the back seat like with your, with a blindfold on. It's just a lot. It's just a lot of fun to be able to be interactive with our clients in doing this, and in many cases, it also brings up new opportunities to have new discussions about other things that might be involved in their life, and really talk about. I was talking with a client yesterday. If we're trying to pay off that mortgage, does it make sense to, based on the distributions you have today, to go to 2 tax years versus 3?
Can you spread that cost over a number of years?
Right, you're basically spreading the taxes over that period of time. Is there anything that we see in the middle? And what's interesting is that this person happens to be in the real estate business, which in some sectors is hot, in others it isn't. How has your income changed, and how does our RMD strategy change for you? So it's fun.
You know what else is fun? Taking our second break of the hour.
Just flying by. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk on Retirement.
Now is when a small change can make a big difference. If you're not happy with your current Medicare coverage, take a look at Coventry Healthcare. They have a wide range of plans with great service and clear costs, including medical and drug coverage in one simple plan. Just call 1-855-338-9551, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. That's 1-855-338-9551. Now's the time to call Coventry Healthcare.
I'm Jennifer Blome, and like a lot of you, I have anxiety about going to the dentist. I was so happy when I found Baldwin Dental Care. Dr. Kimberly Simons is the owner, and she and her staff understand what it's like to be a patient. There's a new patient special right now, a comprehensive exam, a cleaning, 4 x-rays, and an oral cancer screening for $99 or a $100 credit on your account. Baldwin Dental Care in the old Johnny Mac Sporting Goods store on Manchester Road. Just Google Baldwin Dental Care and tell them Jennifer and Wendy sent you.
If you're turning 65 this year, you face one of the most critical choices for your retirement game plan, enrolling in Medicare Part B and choosing your Medicare supplement. I will help you safely navigate this process and find the health insurance plan that best works with your new Medicare coverage. Getting started is easy. Call me at 314-863-0008, 314-863-0008 to arrange for a free health insurance coaching session, or email me at aaron@jblfinancial.com.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back to our final segment of the show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
And we are willing, waiting, and wanting to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And while we're waiting for your texts and calls, let's talk a little bit about Joe and Sally.
The new Joe and Sally?
It's always a new Joe and Sally. and Joe and Sally have a mortgage payment of $1,000 a month. And the remaining mortgage balance is $80,000. If they continue on their current track, it'll be paid for in 9 years. Most of each payment is allocated to principal repayment and not interest expense. How much capital does it take to sustain these mortgage payments?
This is a great way to kind of dovetail from the tax conversation into how do we effectively liquidate debt without creating additional tax consequences, because this is such a common topic of conversation amongst, potential clients and current clients that I've really had a lot of time to think about both sides of the coin, which is, one, we're paying interest to sustain a debt or a mortgage obligation. You're paying the bank. The other side is taxes. If the majority of your assets, like the bulk of our clients have the majority of their assets in taxable accounts, you're going to have to pay the government in the form of taxes to get at your money. So either way, we're paying someone. Let's find out who the least expensive person is to pay off to get this taken care of.
Yeah, so again, if we use the 4% prudent withdrawal measure, we take $12,000 per year, we divide that by 4%. What that tells us is that Joe and Sally basically have to, if you think about it, almost earmark $300,000 of their assets to make these mortgage payments happen. And they only have a true obligation of about $80,000.
So $300,000 is being held hostage by $80,000.
Yes, that's exactly the way I would have said it. And what's also curious is that even though they say we have this really great rate on our interest on our mortgage, the truth is they're not paying any interest because they're down to the principal part. Mm-hmm. So once we get to that place, how can we most effectively and most efficiently, both ways, help them deal with this obligation? Well, obviously, number one measure could be pay it off in a lump sum.
Oh, my God.
A little bit more.
It's not just it's not just the $80,000 because you have to scale that up for taxes. So it's really $96,000.
That's a lot of excess taxes, and also what it could potentially do for some individuals is bump them into an increased Medicare Part B premium, and that doesn't happen for 2 years. So, first you get hit with the taxes in the year that you pull the money out.
Right.
Then 2 years later, all of a sudden, your Social Security starts to drop, and you're like, well, what's this going on here? This is the Medicare Part B premium increase that you're going to have to live with for an additional year.
Well, very good. That's an important analysis. Question is it possible maybe instead to shorten the duration instead of taking a big bite out of the apple here?
So shorten it from 9 years to something else.
Sure, 5 years or 3 years or 4 years, etc.
Right.
Keeping in mind the income tax consequences, keeping in mind the potential Part B premium consequences. Maybe we increase the payouts or give them additional payouts for let's say 3 to 5 year period.
So if we just use the example of, Dad, you mentioned that the majority of individuals that we work with have a gross income of about $90,000 in retirement.
Or less.
So if their gross is sitting at right about $90,000, what would you recommend? How would we shorten the duration on this? Now, the $90,000 already includes the monthly payment that they're making because we factored that into their cash flow game plan as we needed an extra $1,000 a month in order to meet this mortgage obligation. So we know we've got the $12,000 worth of payments already built into the 90. above and beyond that, how much would we add to their cash flow to specifically make this payment?
Well, what I would be doing is I would, using my algebra and calculator mind here, I came up with a solution that what we would do is increase their payments by $20,000 per year over a 4-year period.
Which means it would be done in less than 4 pretty much.
Exactly. And the reason being is that additional $20,000 of income, taxable income, would be taxed at approximately an 18% rate. And that would keep them out of the Medicare Part B issues.
Very far under, which is good.
Which is great. And at the same time, what also is it would only raise their effective tax rate from 11 to 14%. Because, again, all of their money isn't subject to tax at that 18%, just this marginal amount that we're adding.
Right, because it's important to remember effective rate incorporates from the 10% all the way up till your last dollar. Most people think of the last dollar at the marginal rate, which is the most expensive dollar that you pay in taxes.
Yes, and the reason I recommended 4 years was because I know from our experience when working with folks that are in this paying off things mode, when they start seeing the mortgage balance go down, in many cases, they get excited about it.
And they make adjustments to their own budget.
To accelerate the process. And so what happens is that they know they're paying extra taxes a little bit. I mean, in this case, we're talking about, 18% on $20,000. They're paying an extra $3,600 a year, okay, of taxes. If they want to get rid of that, they're just taking some of their other dollars and doing that. And frankly, with many of our clients, it's been kind of easy because with COVID,
they got some COVID cash.
Well, not only that, but also they weren't spending a lot of their leisure time money, whether it was to go on a cruise or to go on trips, etc. They were afraid of flying somewhere because they didn't want to infect the grandkids. I mean, how many times did we hear that? We don't want to infect the grandkids.
Man, you're the boring advisor. I was like, guess we got a double trip in the upcoming year.
Well, and then,
you're paying off mortgages. I'm sending them to like Cancun.
Well, what's curious is that there are some folks that have come back to us, including your mother being one of them, who said, "I'm never getting on a petri dish ever again."
Airplane? It's a petri dish.
Cruise ship.
Oh, a cruise ship.
There's some folks that have said to us, "We just aren't comfortable. We're probably never going back to a cruise ship," and that's understandable. We still do see some folks still walking around with masks, right? I'm kind of like, why? But are they going to ball games the way they used to? I mean, being in these big crowded areas.
Some people have changed their habits for good.
They certainly have. And, it isn't unusual for that to happen. Also, some clients, again, are getting older. And so what's happening is we know is that folks, especially when they're getting into their, let's say mid to late 70s, their consumption patterns begin to reduce.
Naturally, not for any other reason.
Right. And
travel less, not because of desire, but really, it really is because their desire to travel less.
Well, also, grandma time is a big deal. And like we were talking about Bev, hey, she's down there with her grandkids. She's going to come back.
Probably not.
Probably not. That's right. You want to be with the people that you love, especially if your friends are falling off the planet.
Because they're hanging with their grandkids, too.
That's exactly right. It's interesting because obviously, we went to California because your aunt and uncle were there. But all of our friends, new friends out in California, they were all there because their kids were there. Every single one of them. Now, they weren't 5 minutes away. Some were 15 minutes away. Some were 30 minutes away. Some were an hour away. But the bottom line is that's why they moved, wanting to be there and to watch, frankly, their grandchildren grow up a little bit. And so that's kind of fun. So it is unusual for that to happen. We also know that this desire to pay off your mortgage, to get rid of obligations, it's good, but it's smart.
It is smart, but I think this leads us back to and the conversation about where are you going to end up in retirement is really important because if you are in the current house that you are in, if it is not your forever house, if you have a desire to be closer to the grandkids, or you think that you might, what is the real purpose of tying up the money inside of the house, meaning taking the liquidity that you have with your assets outside of your home and paying the mortgage off, essentially putting those assets into your home just to sell it to get them back out again? Why don't you let the sale of the home liquidate the mortgage debt for you, as opposed to throwing it into the house?
Well, and I think also you're making the point here, Honey, very well, which is the real estate market is more illiquid today than it was 10 and 15 years ago. Qualifying for a mortgage is
a process.
It's a painful process. The second thing is that we know that the inventory is there's a lower amount of inventory out there, which is fine.
So it could be harder for you to find the thing you want to buy.
That's right. And also, there are times where we do go into, I don't want to say recessions, but residential housing recessions. We go into just a regular economic recession. It doesn't make it easy to move out of your house. People they're not working. Makes it a little bit more difficult. So timing is real an issue. So you're right. There is a great sense of security from folks to not have this outflow, which is that mortgage payment. At the same time, I think you do have to weigh, does it make sense to, again, dump more capital into something that in theory may become illiquid for you, or the timing isn't good?
Right.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Very, very good question.
We have a few.
And we have some really good questions coming from the Heating Up text line. Will my withdrawals from my individual retirement accounts affect my Social Security benefits?
No. Well, may affect the taxation of your Social Security benefits. Like Rob talked about earlier, there is an equation to use, and those withdrawals from your IRA assets are going to count as other income towards that total of what percentage of your Social Security benefit is taxable. But no, it is not. Your withdrawals from IRA assets do not play into, if you're concerned about the take back. That's only earned income, so wages. Even if you have passive income like rental income, that is not a factor in your Social Security earnings limitations.
Excellent. We've certainly woken up the Social Security contingent on the text line. And our next texter writes, can I withdraw my Social Security retirement claim and reapply later to increase my benefit amount? I like where you're going with this, sir.
As long as your initial claim was within 1 year of when you'd like to withdraw that claim. However, the caveat is you got to pay back what they already paid you in full.
And it's a one-time deal.
One-time deal. Within the first year of taking Social Security, those rules used to be slightly different.
Yes, they were. We got about 2 minutes. We got about 2 minutes left in the show, and what I'd like to do is maybe go to one of the other subjects that we had, and I think it's a quickie. We can really go over it, which is can you roll unused 529 cash into a retirement account? And I know, honey, you were looking at this in detail previously.
Yeah, Rob and I definitely took a quick look at it. Rob, what are the caveats of that?
And you got about a minute.
The beneficiaries of 529 plans must have earned income to do this. And the 529 plan must have been maintained for at least 15 years. And any contributions to the 529 plan in the last 5 years, including earnings on those contributions, are not eligible to be moved into a Roth IRA. So there are some caveats there to be aware of.
And also, you're creating a Roth not for yourself if you're the one that created the 529. It's for the original beneficiary of the 529. So could liquefy some things for your beneficiary, but there are a lot of caveats there.
And the maximum amount that can be transferred in a lifetime to that beneficiary is $35,000.
Which is great, and we'll see you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.